Hey, it's Joel Mark Witt and Antonia Dodge, actually sitting on our bedroom floor because we shooed the kids out of the house. It's Sunday late morning, and we had a few minutes. We've been getting some emails and some questions in about INTx Unleashed, the program. So we thought we would take a moment to shoot a quick video and let you know, to answer some of your questions. So we're hiding from our children inside our bedroom on the floor, and but we're gonna answer these questions. Here we go. Right, so the first question that we're getting, it's kind of a bunch of questions coming in, but basically the gist of it is, what is INTx Unleashed?
So INTx Unleashed came from a lot of requests from INTPs and INTJs after we published our INFX Unveiled program. INTPs and INTJs were like, what about us? And so we thought, yeah, we could create a pretty good program for them. The problem is that neither Joel nor I are INT. We're both ENPs. So in order to accommodate INTJs and INTPs and also speak directly to them and to their experience, we went out and found some high-performing INTJs and INTPs, both men and women, to let us know what their secrets are for being top performers. What were some of the challenges they had to get through as people of their type, and what were some of the ways that they, like the major ahas they had, the paradigm shifts, the changes they made in their lives, so that they could tackle some of the major INTJ and INTP challenges. So the program started out as a series of interviews, these 6 interviews we did, and then we did what we call post games on them, so ruminations on the interviews and mining for some gold. But then we got feedback from some early adopters of the program when we released it before, that there were a couple things that INTJs and INTPs might like to have seen in the program as well, and so then we filled that in. We created sessions specifically speaking to things like small talk and emotional intelligence and social intelligence and motivation, and some of the other major challenges that INTPs and INTJs have. And so the program ended up being approximately anywhere, I think it's like 20 hours now at
Probably
this point.
With everything in it,
of content. About 20 hours of content that includes interviews, the post games of the interviews, and then sessions targeting challenges that are very common to INTPs and INTJs. And if you want more information, we actually have an entire page full of information at personalityhacker.com/INTx.
Yeah, and actually one of the other questions that's coming in is what's in it? Like again, one of the best ways to see what's in the program, we list it all out on that page, personalityhacker.com/INTx. But just a quick recap of that. The program's broken into kind of like 2 major sections. Basically, the first part is practicals, which go through that stuff like motivation, social intelligence, emotional intelligence, where Antonia and I talk about some of the reframes, myths, and then a reframe, like mindset reframes. And then we talk about practical, actual application. So exercises you can do, and there's like steps to take action on certain things that we talk about in that. And then that's just kind of like a baseline to get you started. And then the INTx Council is where those interviews are living. And that's great because it's got a lot of gold to mine from actual INTP men and women and INTJ men and women who they're high performers, and they've been through some of the same challenges that a lot of INTs struggle with. And so it's really good to hear how they basically went through the ups and downs in their life and their career, and on the other end they figured out some solutions and some things that solved, some strategies, some solutions, some tips, and some exercises that they do to get through some of the challenges they've had. So it's really, and what's great is we've taken those, like Tony talked about at the end, we've unpacked them. We did like our little riff, separate recording from the interview. So we interview each of them, and then afterward we take some of the highlights from that interview and we focus on them and talk about them and unpack them. So it's great because you can listen through the interview yourself, you can hear all the insights you're picking up, because it's going to speak to different people different ways, right? And then you can go and listen to what we took out of it, and you can maybe even get even more from it. In fact, we had, was it INTJ or INTP gentleman?
It was an INTJ.
INTJ gentleman write in back in July when we first opened up enrollment for the first batch of students here, and he said that he went to listen to the recap, right, of the interview, and he's like, I figured it wasn't going to have anything that I hadn't already gotten out of the interview, but you guys actually shined a light on some things that I didn't even pick up in the interview the first listen through. So I went back and listened to it again because it gave me some new perspectives of what to look for in the second listening. It's really good stuff, and each one of those is a deep dive into that person. So I can't stress that enough, how powerful it is.
It's separated into the INTx Council, which are those interviews, the post-game analysis of each of those, Then practical programming, which are the sessions that we created to deal with challenges specific to INTJs and INTPs. And then the worksheets that come along with it, the exercises, and basically anything that you need to implement in your life to be able to see, like actual, not just get inspired, but actually see change in your life. Those are provided in the practical programming and then in the INTx worksheets.
Now, these are all, just for the technical aspects, these are like video with audio under them, so slides, video, interview video. I'm also turning them, we've had a lot of requests to have them as MP3s to download, to put on iTunes or on your phone or mobile device to take with you on your commute. So you can find that underneath the video area where you can download MP3s, the audio version, because a lot of people have been requesting. Like, basically, when the first batch of students came through, they gave us their feedback about what would really make the program even better, and that was one of the biggest things that was requested. So we're putting on those MP3s on there for you to download this as well. How INTx Unleashed helped me, I think we've talked about it a little bit. Another question that came in about how it's great because you can get some frameworks and some action steps in that first core content that Tony and I do together. But then I think the way it's going to help you is you're going to see how high-performing INTJs and INTPs have, basically solved some of the challenges that I think are common to a lot of INTs. And what's great about it is it's from people that have dealt with that as that type. So it's not just Tony and I, you're actually hearing from real INTPs and INTJs. Another question came in is, why do we pair INTJs and INTPs in the same program?
The question is, why did you pair INTJs and INTPs in the same program? And it is true that INTJs and INTPs have different mental wiring, different cognitive function stacks. And so it could seem like, well, like, why wouldn't you separate them out? And why wouldn't you address them each separately? But we noticed that they both deal with something very, like challenges very particular to them. Things like what we call the perpetual preparation syndrome, which is constantly putting things off and always like having to prepare yourself for when life actually starts. Things like an aversion to office politics, that's very common to both. They also find themselves dealing with existential crisis much earlier than their peers do. And so we paired them together, even though they come at it from slightly different reasons, the results are oftentimes the same. So we paired them together to make recommendations for exercises, paradigm shifts, ahas, things to inspire them, and at the same time address those effects, like the results of having very similar challenges. And that's why we chose to pair them together.
And the other thing too, and this is really, I think this is a really cool benefit. We added a bonus. Antonia, like during the first release of this, she went down and she recorded in the studio an hour-long type-by-type comparison between INTJs and INTPs. So what's really exciting about this, because we merged them together, one of the bonuses you get is a side-by-side comparison where Antonia goes through the cognitive function stack in our format, how we look at it in the CAR model, and she compares the cognitive functions side by side for an hour and basically compares the personalities, like basically how they're wired, the differences, the different things that are going to get them motivated, the different things that are going to hinder them, some of the roadblocks each type has. And what's really great about this is if you've ever struggled maybe figuring out what you are you an INTJ or INTP, and maybe you've been on the fence about that, I think this bonus is a great tiebreaker for that.
Yeah.
If you already know your type, I think it's a great deep dive into really getting down to the nuance, the technical nuances between the difference between INTJs and INTPs. And as you go down the cognitive function stack and get into the nitty gritty of that content, I think it's a really powerful framework for you to understand your type in comparison to the other INT type.
Yeah, I would agree that that's probably one of the nicest things about that bonus is that if you're still on the fence about which type you are, it's pretty helpful for determining the different relationship each of the types has, say, with their intuition, with their feeling process, why they have challenges around getting motivated, some of the major differences and things that they tend to fixate on. So yeah, I would agree that it's a good session for especially trying to determine which type you are. Another question is, should I listen to the interviews from people of the other type? And I would say absolutely. Great rewards come from having two styles of mentor. The first is those who share your personality type, because it illustrates that other people just like you have triumphed through your challenges. But the second type of mentor that's very powerful are people who are a slightly different personality type. that experience the same challenges. And the reason for this is they think of things that you might not have thought of based on your natural wiring. So an INTJ is going to see the world differently than an INTP, and vice versa. And an INTP may have come up with solutions that are equally beneficial to an INTJ, but an INTJ just wouldn't think about it that way, and vice versa. So I would recommend listening to all of them, regardless of which type you are, because you're going to get ahas and things that inspire you from both styles.
You know, the other night we were putting together some email to send out about, you know, to let people know about the program, right? So I was listening through the interviews. I hadn't listened like in over a month or so, and I was listening back down through the interviews, and I actually really like them. Like I learn a lot from them. I'm not even an INTJ or INTP, but I actually really enjoy listening to them. There's a lot of good stuff in there, even for other types. But this is definitely targeted for you as an IT. But I just want to let you know that I think it's good. I came back and I was like, these are really good interviews. I really like these interviews. There's really good meat and really good stuff in here, really good ahas that resonate with me, even as an ENFP. And I'm not even an INTJ or INTP. So I like them, and I think you're going to like them too. How much time will it require is a question we're getting at. And I guess I'm going to interpret that as like the amount of, I guess we could talk about it in two ways. We could talk about how much time it would require for somebody to absorb it and like apply it, which is a little different than how much actual content there is.
Right.
So we mentioned that there's like probably around 20 hours of content at this point with
so
the bonuses and stuff.
To just consume it, I'm sorry, I didn't mean
No,
to.
go ahead.
Just to consume it, it's probably going to take you between 15 to 20 hours just to consume it. But one of my favorite quotes is from Robert Anton Wilson, who said that the best models are ones that you can gain benefit when you're looking at it from the most shallow level, but are also infinitely expandable. And I would argue that the content in here in INTx Unleashed, you can get the benefit from it from just a cursory overview in that 15 to 20 hours. But if you actually start applying the exercises and start applying the ahas and start and observe how your perspective shifts, then in the application itself, it could be like infinitely expandable. It could actually be something that alters how you see things. And on a day-to-day basis, if you start implementing like the exercises, because some of the exercises are like 21-day challenges or month-long journal challenges, if you really take the time and effort to dedicate to it, it could be something that just, it's not like it's all this dedication time and effort you have to put in. It's more like something that you just sort of weave into your life. And if that's the case, then it's really infinitely expandable. So anywhere between 15 hours and infinity, basically, and with lots of different options in between. Yeah.
In the interview with Christian Ramos, who's an INTP, he talks a lot about how when he was learning how to master social intelligence, right? Because he talks about in his interview about how like he was totally clueless in high school and in his early 20s, where he would be talking to a group of people and then like he'd say something, like a group of people would be talking, he'd say something and they would like just turn their backs and walk away from him. As an INTP, he was baffled. He had no idea what was going on. So he decided he wanted to get this handled, and he said what he did is he went deep into it. He just made it an all-consuming practice of like learning how to be more sociable, learning how to figure some of these things out. Now he was, I think he was an extreme case of like he just didn't have any idea how to like handle this or like deal with this. So he just really went deep into it and really for a long period of time. But I guess that's the thing is like it depends on what you want to get out of it. You can put a lot of effort into it and just really make it a thing. Like we recommend getting a journal in there and tracking your emotions and some social activities and things of this nature. There's some exercises, and you can put a lot of attention to that and get a lot of benefit out quickly, or you could do it over time depending on your schedule. So I think what Antonio said, I just want to echo that I think it's a very powerful program in that it's tailored to how you want to use it. And probably if you want to learn fast, you can do that. You can go and really learn fast, apply things, get feedback, ask questions. We're going to do a Q&A in a couple weeks for everybody that's in this new class, like in this new enrollment period. And that's a great time from now until that Q&A, we're going to figure out the date here soon. When we do that Q&A in a couple weeks, it'd be great if you had gotten this program, start applying some things, start taking action, and then you're going to have better questions to ask on that Q&A when we all talk together. The community of INTx people are going to be there, other students that are in this program, and then Antonio and I will be there as well. And we can talk about some of the questions you have that are coming up from the things you're applying. So I think it's really powerful to get started, to go deep right now for a couple weeks learn what you can, and then during that Q&A we can start calibrating and figuring out how to go from there.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's keep moving here. Our children are only going to allow us to be up here for so long. How is this program different from other stuff I found online? You want to take that one?
Yeah, well, I was just going to say, I don't think there's anything like INTx Unleashed anywhere, really.
There's Reddit forums.
Yeah.
You get advice from other INTJs, INTPs, I guess.
Yeah, well, I mean, there are communities. Yeah, I mean, there are communities out there that are supportive, but you also don't necessarily know what the person's life is or lifestyle is as you're talking to them online, so you're not sure if the recommendations that they're giving have been tested. And the reason why there's nothing like INTx Unleashed is because this is the result of like over 600 survey responses from INTPs and INTJs, both men and women, that we received months ago as we were preparing for it, for them to talk about some of their major challenges, for you guys to tell us what you need in your life. And so we said, okay, those are the things that they need to talk about or have talked about. And so when we interviewed these top performing INTJs and INTPs, we actually asked them questions that were in those survey results. So it's about as tailored to you as a program can be, especially if you're one of the people who responded on the survey. But even if you weren't, I am sure that your perspective was at least in part represented in that survey, because there was a lot of responses that we saw over and over and over again. And so we did our limited release. We asked the early adopters what they thought about it. We got recommendations for how to improve the program, and then we took those recommendations and made the improvements. So again, it's a very tailored program to the needs of INTJs and INTPs. So when the question is like, how is this different from other stuff? Well, it's like nothing like you've ever seen. It's a very different program tailored to your individualized needs. And so I would say it's very unique in the world of content when it comes to, to basically having a group coaching situation for INTJs and INTPs in this program.
Yeah, and I'll just say this, so you as an INTJ or INTP, if you're watching, the thing that you're good at is finding information, right? I mean, the internet's full of information. You've probably done a lot of research about your type, maybe even other types, whatever, and that's good. And I think that information is out there. I would say that this program is more about action and advice. So it's very advice and action focused. So if you're just looking for information, there is good information here. You can find great information. I think the bonus that you do, the type by type comparison, the cognitive function stack comparison, I think that you're going to get, even if you've done a ton of research on your own, I think you're going to get a lot of insight from that, just from an informational standpoint. But I would recommend that if you're getting this just for information, it's probably not the best choice for you.
Yeah, I'd agree.
I mean, feel free to do it. Obviously, we're not going to be like, no, don't join the program if you just want information. But I would recommend that if you join this, the emphasis is put on action and putting things into practice and like applying things in your life in an advice or action-based way. And that's what this program really is. It's about getting into action, taking the things that we're talking about, which I believe we have really great information in there, but it's really about taking that information, applying it in your life. And if you're not really wanting to do that, I would say you're going to get a limited experience with the program. Mm-hmm. Feel free to get it and then apply it when it makes sense for you. But I think the application is really powerful.
Yeah.
And that speaks to what you just said about us doing the first release, getting some feedback and refining it. That's something we want to continue doing. So we're gonna close this enrollment period. So the next batch of students come in, figure out what you're learning, what's going on for you, and we're going to continue to improve the program. So this is kind of like a 2.0 of INTx Unleashed. We don't really call it officially 2.0, but basically it's a 2.0. We've added a couple things, we've restructured a couple things. The core interviews are still there. We've added those intro sessions. We've added a few extra bonuses. When you come in and give us some feedback, we're going to look at how we can upgrade it again in probably about 5 or 6 months. So we're going to continue adding to it. The question we get from some people is, if I join, will I get access to those updates? Yes. Basically, you're joining this. It's a forever. You just get this, and then every time there's a new release, we're just going to add that in, and you're just going to automatically have that in your membership area. So everybody that joined this past summer in the first enrollment period is going to get all this stuff just automatically added because they already joined before.
Yeah.
So that's I think that's a good benefit in that it's kind of the gift that keeps on giving. You just kind of keep. And what's great about it, sorry, I know I'm rambling here. What's great about it is it's based on the feedback from the students. We're adding more things to it. So we're refining it based on the feedback we're getting, the questions we're getting. We're finding more and more ways to answer more and more questions and help you apply this stuff to your life.
Yeah.
And that's really what our goal is. So joining this is like a lifetime access in the membership area, and you just get upgrades forever.
Well, and we want to give you a reward for the feedback you give us. If you've given us feedback and we have increased the quality of the program, of course we want you to benefit from that. So
Absolutely.
yes, of course you get everything that we add to the program from here on out. Another question is, why is the program only available for a limited time? Which is a great question. We actually are going to be doing this with all of our programs. We used INTx Unleashed as a test to see how it would go, having a limited enrollment time period and then getting feedback to improve the program and then doing another limited enrollment period. And this is actually what we're going to be doing with all of our programs from here on out, so that the programs aren't just what we think should be in them, not just content that we think, that you guys need to know, but more that you're giving us real time, not real time, but like you're giving us feedback, perpetual feedback to be able to make the programs better and better. So this is actually how we're going to be dealing with all of our programs from here on out.
Yeah, it came from us doing profiler training. We would open enrollment every year. What's great is you get a critical mass of people that join at the same time. And it's just a benefit because it helps everybody join at the same time, so there's more support. And then it's also, we get like higher caliber feedback so we can refine it. And we're like, we should start thinking about doing this with all of our programs, because it allows us then to continue to optimize things where you get enough people at one time to join, and then it just helps all of it move forward. So that's the reason why we're choosing to do this.
Yep.
So stay tuned, because some of the other programs are probably going to be reworked in that way too.
Yep.
And then finally, just the last question, because I know we got to get going here. When does enrollment end for this current enrollment period for INTx Unleashed? Tuesday, November 21st, midnight is the end of the enrollment period.
Eastern Standard Time, United States.
So if you're in California, it's 9 p.m.
Yeah.
And then just kind of do the math wherever you are in the world.
New York time if you're anywhere else on the planet.
We just had somebody join yesterday from Saudi Arabia, I think, for the program. So I don't know what time it is in Saudi Arabia, but yesterday they just joined from Saudi Arabia. I think it was Saudi Arabia, somewhere in the Middle East. I think it was Saudi Arabia. Just joined yesterday.
That always makes me happy.
I like the fact that it's a global community too, which is kind of cool. All right, so I think we answered all the questions.
Yeah, I think that was all the questions that came in.
I'm sure if more questions come in, we can answer them later.
We can answer them later. So if you have any more questions, please let us know. Feel free to shoot us an email at info@personalityhacker.com. And INTx Unleashed may or may not be right for you, but if what we're talking about, which is being ready to make a change, getting out of things like the perpetual procrastination project, optimizing your career, making peace with things like small talk and maybe office politics, and needing some things that will help get you started so that you can see major shifts and changes in your life, we feel like INTx Unleashed is a really powerful program that get it now, because this is the limited release and it's going to be gone by Tuesday. So our strong recommendation is that you jump on it.
Yeah.
So thank you very much for listening to the FAQ, and we will talk to you on whatever's the next video.
Well, we'll see you in the video, and also I'd love to see you in the Q&A in a couple of weeks.
Absolutely.
You join the program. We can talk live on the air, and you can ask your questions. So looking forward to that.
Peace out, guys.
Bye.
Bye.